morning, or depending on when you're watching this, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. My name's Ross, and as always told out of Voice of Radio. So today, well, we've got some new VMAXs that we need to be looking at. Kind of. You see, these were tweeted out by DDSXTGGG, and this was brought to my attention by the lovely Primal Lugia over at PokeGuardian.com. We like him. He's awesome. And I met him in real life when the Pokemon Center opened in London. Can confirm, is awesome. This image came out. And this image shows clearly that we are getting VMAX versions of Cinderace, Rillaboom, and Inteleon. Now, the fact that we're getting VMAX versions of Cinderace, Rillaboom, and Inteleon should not really be news at this stage, because of course VMAX Rising was revealed a while back, and VMAX Rising clearly has pack art, which clearly has Cinderace, Rillaboom, and Inteleon. And they looked like the Dynamax versions of those Pokemon. And then, of course, at the time, there was no such thing as a Gigantamax version of them, so of course it was going to be Dynamax versions. But then, of course, we had a Pokemon Direct this past week, where they showed off Gigantamax Rillaboom, Gigantamax Inteleon, and Gigantamax Cinderace. And in fact, now we do have Gigantamax versions of these Pokemon. They are not featured on the cards. We are only getting the Dynamax versions. Will we get Gigantamax versions of these Pokemon later on? I believe we will. Now, incidentally, and it must be noted, we are extremely early on in the Sword and Shield block. We've not seen any Pokemon have a second VMAX yet, but I refuse to believe we are actually going to have a Gigantamax version of the first partner Pokemon and never have that represented in a card. It does make the timing strange, though. Now, the timing does work out quite nicely, incidentally, and there's a really good explanation for why we're not getting Gigantamax forms on these cards. VMAX Rising is releasing on Friday the 7th of February over in Japan, but the Gigantamax versions of the first partner Pokemon are being featured in the Sword and Shield expansion pass, and the first part of that is the Isle of Armor, which isn't actually coming out until June. So I think it's, and to be fair, it says by the end of June. So I think it's very, very fair at this stage to say there's no way we are getting Gigantamax versions of these Pokemon on cards, you know, a full 4 and a bit months, because it's beginning of February, probably end of June, a full 4 and a bit months before they're actually featured in the game. That's just not happening. So even when the Gigantamax versions were revealed, firstly, the timing did not add up. And secondly, the front of the booster pack clearly shows that we've got Dynamax versions, not Gigantamax versions. So, yeah, it was never going to happen, unfortunately, ladies and gentlemen. I do believe we will get Gigantamax versions soon, incidentally, or at least before too long. But they wanted to get these out. They wanted the first partner Pokemon on these cards. I don't blame them. So what do we know about them? Now, we have actually seen the V versions of them. We've seen the Pokemon V of these Pokemon, or maybe we haven't. You see, we have actually seen Pokemon V, which are going to be coming out in tins, and we've got a Cinderace, we've got an Inteleon, we've got a Rillaboom. Now, the artwork we can see from Inteleon here is clearly different from the artwork we can see on the Cinderace, which has been officially revealed. Now, having said that, although the artwork is different, they both appear to have 210 HP, they both appear to have an ability, and they both appear to have an attack for 2 fire, 1 colorless energy. And remember that our tin Pokemon are always alternate art versions of existing cards. I do believe that is the exact same Cinderace we've already seen, albeit a different artwork. We've essentially got the alternate art in our tin that Japan will get somewhere else. So even though the artwork is different, I believe these are the same Pokemon V, which is of course very, very important, because it means we're not getting a second version of all 3 of these, at least soon. We will at some point, so we can get the Gigantamax ones. But it seems like these are just the same ones we've already seen. Now, we've got these VMAX, but honestly, we cannot see very much about them at all. Now, the one thing we can see for absolute certainty is that Cinderace VMAX has a weakness to water, which is expected, a retreat cost of 2, which means you can free retreat with Balloon, and 320 HP, which puts it a little bit below Snorlax VMAX, but it's still quite good. Still a decent amount of HP. It seems to have an attack for 1 fire, 1 colourless energy, and it's got an attack for 2 fire, 1 colourless. It does 170 and has an extra effect. Now, I have checked with some of my more Japanese-speaking friends, or reading friends, I suppose is more accurate in this regard. We don't know what they say. Like, that writing is way, way too small to actually do anything with, which is slightly upsetting. Now, it is worth pointing out the Cinderace V has a nice ability that gives it free retreat, which is quite nice, although you lose that when you VMAX, unfortunately. And, I mean, you're only doing an extra 30 damage for free energy, which isn't amazing. It's fine, but it's not amazing. But then again, with it being a fire Pokemon, we've got all kinds of stuff like Welder running around, so we're not going to struggle getting the energy on there. It's just whether we actually want it. Bearing in mind, this is a free prize Pokemon, and we've got Reshiram and Charizard. And okay, it's for 4 energy rather than 3, but for 4 energy, Reshiram and Charizard can do 230 damage. I mean, with their GX move, they can do 200 for free energy, so we don't know what the extra effect is, but you're talking a free prize Pokemon. Now, it does have an extra 50 HP over Reshiram and Charizard, but you're talking about a free prize Pokemon here, and we're talking about a stage 1. We're going to need a reason to play it over Reshiram and Charizard. We might get that, but as it stands at the moment, it's not looking too amazing. Now, if we have a little bit of a look at Rillaboom, now I've gone on record, right, as saying I like Rillaboom V. I think Rillaboom V is really good, 4 energy, 220 damage. I'm not loving the attack that just searches out a couple of basic grass Pokemon and puts them on your bench. It's fine, but it's not particularly amazing, especially for a Pokemon that gives up 2 prizes. But remember, we're getting the Rillaboom in Sword and Shield, which allows you to search your deck for 2 grass energy and attach them. If you're playing a Rillaboom deck, this Rillaboom V is about the best option that we've got in terms of having a nice basic attacker with it. And if we look at some of the other options here, we're talking about stuff like Rowlet and Alolan Executor. Now, to be fair, Rowlet and Alolan Executor is really good for evolving up into Rillaboom. 0 energy, and you can take a Grookey right up to a Rillaboom, but it's not great as an attacker. So I love Rillaboom V as an attacker. What do we see from this Rillaboom? Well, the HP is unfortunately covered, so we can't say that with any real certainty, although we expect it to be high. There is 1 colourless energy, I want to say 50 damage. And 4 energy, it's something 30. It looks like 130 to me, but 134 energy. Now, it does have an effect, and it is a fairly lengthy effect, but it's going to have to be really good. Now, if it's 4 energy, 230, and a good extra effect, I am going to be all over Rillaboom VMAX. I'm going to be loving it. But if it's 4 energy, 130 and an extra effect, it really is going to need to be a nuts good extra effect, given that for 4 energy on the V, you can do 220. There we go. Given that one of the Stage 2 Rillaboom we've seen, the one from the V-Dex, actually does have 190 HP, you should expect this to be right up there with the beefiest Pokemon VMAX we've seen. Expect it to be kind of 330, 340 here. That seems like a pretty good prediction. Now, in terms of Inteleon here, we cannot see a huge amount. Again, the HP has been covered. We do see the retreat cost of 2. It's got an attack for 1 water energy that may or may not do damage. I can't really see, but has an effect. And it seems to have 2 water, 1 colourless, 160 damage with an extra effect. Now, to be fair, if we have a look at Inteleon V, we're not doing a huge amount of damage. Free energy 130, your opponent reveals their hand. So it's probably fair to assume that it's going to be a nice disruptive effect, like revealing their hand, etc. And you are still doing more damage. And Inteleon really is making its money as a disruptive Pokemon. I mean, if we look at the Inteleon from Sword and Shield, the attack does extra damage to your opponent's bench. The Inteleon from the V-Dex allows you to get rid of cards in your opponent's hand. I mean, it's what Inteleon has been doing so far. So it's probably something along those lines. It's also been hitting the bench quite well, so maybe there's going to be some element of bench damage in there. I don't really know. Obviously, when these cards are fully revealed, they will each get their own video really looking into the minutiae of what they do, how good they are, how we can use them, etc. But we know a little bit about them. We knew enough to start having a little bit of a look. I kind of like them at the moment. They look kind of fun. I worry that the damage cap on both Inteleon and Cinderace is too low. But again, it really is going to depend on the extra effect of the attack as to how good they really are. Hopefully, the fact that they have been revealed and leaked out like this means that we are just a day or two away from actually seeing what they do. I mean, I think if nothing else, they'll end up on the official website on Friday. So, fingers crossed, ladies and gentlemen, we won't be waiting terribly long. For now, I'd like to know what you think of what we've seen and your prediction for what we haven't. So go nuts in the comment section, but please remember the rule. Be nice, would you? And then make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter at TheWassy, and Twitch for some live action at twitch.tv/PTCGRadio. If you want to support the channel, get some bonus podcasts and all that, head on over to patreon.com/PTCGRadio, where you can do exactly that. And please do make sure you're checking out youtube.com/WassyPlays, where we can, look at other games. They don't have Pokemon in, but they are pretty gosh darn good. But by far the most important thing, as always, look after yourself until next time, would ya? Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching PTCG Radio.